Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. What verses are we covering today? Remind me again. Oh, Jyoti Mataji, are you sharing?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. It's 31 to 44, Prabhuji.
31 to 44. What happened here? Wait, something's gone wrong.
Or you need to take off the translation, I think.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Puppet, yeah. Yes, that's okay.
So 31 to 44.
44, yes, please.
All right. Okay. Hare Krishna. Sorry about that. So you can carry on now.
Hare Krishna. So I'll start now.
Hare Krishna.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So reading today from Canto 1, Chapter 14, Text 31. Sushenascha Sambo Jambavati Sutaha Anya cha Karshni Pravaraha Saputra Rishabadaha.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Are all the chieftains sons of Lord Krishna, such as Susena, Kristesna, Simba, the son of Jambavati, and Rishabha, along with their sons, all doing well?
Text 32 and 33. Tatha vanucharya sauraha shruta devuda vadayaha sunanda nanda sirshanya yachanya sattvatar sabaha api swasti asate sarve Rama Krishna bhujashraha api smaranti kushalam asmakam vada sauradaha.
Also, Srutadeva, Uddhava, and others, Nanda, Sunanda, and other leaders of liberated souls who are constant companions of the Lord, are protected by Lord Balram and Krishna. Are they all doing well in their respective functions? Do they who are all eternally bound in friendship with us remember our welfare?
Text 34. Bhagwan api govindo brahmano bhakta vatsala kachit pure sudharmayam sukham aste survrataha.
Is Lord Krishna the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who gives pleasure to the cows, the senses, and the brahmanas, who is very affectionate towards his devotees, enjoying the pious assembly at Dwarkapuri, surrounded by friends?
Text 35 and 36. Mangalaya cha lokanam keshamaya cha bhavaya cha aste yadukulam bodhva adyo nanta sakhapuman yad bahu danda guptayam swapuryam yadvo rachitaha kridanti paramanandam mahapaurishika iva.
The regional personality of Godhead, the enjoyer, and Balram, the primeval Lord Ananta, are staying in the ocean of the Yadu dynasty for the welfare, protection, and general progress of the entire universe. And the members of the Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of the Lord, are enjoying life like the residents of the spiritual sky.
Text 37. Yat pada shurusana mukhya karmana satya dvi asta sahasra yoshita nirijitya sankhya tridasham stat ashisho haranti vajrayadu valabochitaha.
Simply by administering comforts at the lotus feet of the Lord, which is the most important of all services, the queens of Dwarka, headed by Satyabhama, induce the Lord to conquer the demigods. Thus the queens enjoy things which are prerogatives of the wives of the controller of thunderbolts.
Yadbahu dandabu the yanujvino yadu pravira akuto bhayamuhu adikramanti ankribhir ahartam balat sabam sudharmam sura satamochitam.
The great heroes of the Yadu dynasty, being protected by the arms of Lord Shri Krishna, always remain fearless in every respect, and therefore their feet trample over the Sudama assembly house, which the best demigods deserved, but which was taken away from them.
Text 39. Kachitte namayam tata Brashtateja vibhasi me alabdha mano vajnitnatah kimba tata chiroshitah.
My brother Arjun, please tell me whether your health is all right. You appear to have lost your bodily luster. Is this due to others disrespecting and neglecting you because of your long stay at Dwarka?
Text 40. Kachinnabihato bhavah sabdabdibhir amangalah nadatam uktam artibhya shayayat pratishrutam.
Has someone addressed you with unfriendly words or threatened you? Could you not give charity to one who asked, or could you not keep your promise to someone?
Text 41. Kachitvam brahmanam balam kampradam roginam striyam sarano pashratam sattvam natyaksha sarana pradaha.
You're always the protector of the deserving living beings, such as brahmanas, children, cows, women, and the diseased. Could you not give them protection when they approached you for shelter?
Text 42. Kachitvam nagamo gamyam gamyam vasat kritam striyam parajito vatha bhavan nuto mirnashame patihi.
Have you contacted a woman of impeachable character? Have you not properly treated a deserving woman? Or have you been defeated on the way by someone who is inferior or equal to you?
Text 43. Api svit parya bhunktasvam sambojam vrida balakam juga pitshitam karma kinchit krittavana yad akshamam.
Have you not taken care of old men and boys who deserve to dine with you? Have you left them and taken your meals alone? Have you committed some unpardonable mistake which is considered to be abominable?
Text 44. Kachit prishta taminatha hridayan atma bandhuna sunyosmi rahito nityam manya seti nyathana ruk.
Or is it that you are feeling empty for all time because you might have lost your most intimate friend, Lord Krishna? Oh, my brother Arjun, I can think of no other reason for you are becoming so dejected.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. And please forgive me for my mistakes.
Hare Krishna, sorry for the mistakes I made.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Kusum Mataji, what's your initiated name, Mataji? I forgot.
Kusum Viharini Devidasi.
Kusum Viharini Devidasi. Beautiful name.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Nice recitation. And thank you so much, Deepak Prabhu. It's nice to hear your voice again.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. So dear devotees, welcome to today's chat session. We continue with our reading and discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. And today we will be discussing, or we continue to discuss, chapter number 14 of the first canto. The chapter is entitled The Disappearance of Lord Krishna. And today we'll be concluding the chapter by reading and discussing texts 42 to 44. It was meant to have concluded yesterday, but we had some challenges with the facilitator, so we didn't have a session. So as we traditionally do, before we just read and discuss, we invoke auspiciousness from our predecessor acharyas and spiritual masters by reciting the Mangala Charan prayers. You can also join in by the unmuted mics. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sahagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutan Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivashari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pracharine. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Naschachala Vishatarine Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So Hare Krishna everyone. Thank you very much for coming and attending this chat session today. It being a bank holiday, seems like we do not have much attendees. But still, whoever's here is wonderful to have your association. So text number 42. So currently we are in the section of Srimad Bhagavatam where Maharaj Yudhisthira is inquiring from Arjuna about his welfare. And then he proposes, when he sees Arjuna in this condition, looking bereft of his luster, not being his normal self, he proposes different reasons for this condition of Arjuna. And that is something we were discussing from text number 39 to 40. So I'll just share my screen. Okay, I'll do that later. So now we'll just go back to. So you are seeing text number 42 at the moment on the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Gacchitvam nagamo gayam vasat kritam shriyam parajito vata bhavan nato mai nasamai pati. Word for word, synonyms. Gachit, whether. Tvam, yourself. Na, not. Agama, did contact. Agamyam, impeachable. Gamyam, acceptable. Va, either. Asat kritam, improperly treated. Shriyam, a woman. Parajitaha, defeated by. Va, either. Ata, after all. Bhavan, your good self. Na, not. Uttamai, by superior power, now not Samai, but equals Patir on the road. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Have you contacted a woman of impeachable character? Or have you not properly treated a deserving woman? Or have you been defeated on the way by someone who is inferior or equal to you? Purport. Would anyone like to read the purport?
May I try Vinod?
Please, Mataji, go on. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna. It appears from this verse that during the time of the Pandavas, free contact between men and women was allowed in certain conditions only. The higher caste men, namely Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, could accept a woman of the Vaishya or the Shudra community, but a man from the lower caste could not contact a woman of the higher caste. Even a Kshatriya could not contact a woman of the Brahmana caste. The wife of a Brahmana is considered one of the seven mothers, namely one's own mother, the wife of the spiritual master or teacher, the wife of Brahmana, the wife of king, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. Such contact between men and women was known as Uttama or Adhama. Contact of a Brahmana with a Kshatriya woman is Uttama, but the contact of Kshatriya with Brahmana woman is Adhama and therefore condemned. A woman approaching a man for contact should never be refused, but at the same time, the discretion as above mentioned may also be considered. Bhima was approached by Hidimbi from a community lower than the Shudras, and Yati refused to marry the daughter of Shukracharya because of Shukracharya's being a Brahmana. Vasudev, a Brahmana, was allowed to beget Pandu, and Dhritarashtra. Satyavati belonged to a family of fishermen. But Parashara, a great Brahmana, begot in her Vasudev. So there are so many examples of contact with women, but in all cases, the contacts were not abominable, nor were the results of such contacts bad. Contact between man and woman is natural, but that also must be carried out under regulated principles. So the social consecution may not be disturbed or unwanted worthless population be increased for the unrest of the world. It is abominable for a Kshatriya to be defeated by one who is inferior in strength or equal in strength. If one is defeated at all, he should be defeated by some superior power. Arjuna was defeated by Vishwadev, and Lord Krishna saved him from the danger. This was not an insult for Arjuna because Vishwadev was far superior to Arjuna in all ways, namely age, respect, and strength. But Krishna was equal to Arjuna, and therefore, but Karna was equal to Arjuna, and therefore Arjuna was in crisis when fighting with Karna. It was felt by Arjuna, and therefore Karna was killed even by crooked means. Such are the engagements of the Kshatriyas. And Maharaja Yudhishthira inquired from his brother whether anything undesirable happened on the way home from Dwarka. Hare Krishna. Thank you for allowing
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So, in previous verses, in text number 39, Yudhishthira Maharaj had proposed two reasons for Arjuna being in this condition with tears gliding from his eyes and so on. Now, the important thing here, or the important principle of consideration in this verses, is the discussion on separation. In Vaishnava philosophy, separation from the Lord is the highest stage of devotion. Now, this concept of this principle is very difficult for ordinary persons to understand. Very difficult, because separation is ordinarily felt to be a feeling that is not very much treasured, not very much appreciated, not very much welcomed. But yet in Krishna consciousness philosophy, feelings of separation is the highest form of love. So in these verses, Maharaj Yudhisthira, he's making different comparisons so that, we can garner some appreciation of what Arjuna is feeling. Because, we can only relate to another situation relative to our own experience in life. If we have not had a particular experience in life, it's very hard or very difficult for us to fully appreciate what's going on. Therefore, you will see in Srimad Bhagavatam or in the Vedic scriptures, a lot of times these comparisons, these similes, these metaphors are used just to help us get some understanding. So the first, on verse 39, the first cause of dejection that Yudhishthira Maharaj proposes is your health all right? Normally when health is not good, we lose bodily luster. Second one is, were you disrespected or neglected? When we meet a person and they are morose and dejected, quite often it is because someone has disrespected them or someone has neglected them. It is a source of great pain and anxiety. And in text number 40, Maharaj Yudhisthira gives the third reason. Were you addressed with unfriendly words or threatened? This is another cause for lamentation. And the fourth reason, which is a very interesting one, which we've discussed. Did you fail to give charity that you had promised? To promise charity and to not give it, it deprives one of a lot of punya, a lot of happiness. Therefore, one in Vedic culture is, if we promise to give charity, we have to do it. Because if we don't, it becomes a source of great tribulation for us. And then in text number 41, he gives the fifth potential cause for dejection. This is Maharaj Yudhisthira. And he said, maybe you could not protect deserving candidates. And the deserving candidates that are mentioned there is, generally in Vaishnava culture, these are the candidates that we have to give protection to. And in any culture, in any community where these personalities are not protected, then there is great devastation, great loss, great pain that's going to come. And those are the brahmanas, children, the cows, the women, and the diseased. 5. Brahmanas, children, cows, women, and diseased. And especially when they require shelter. Now in this verse, text number 42, Maharaj Yudhishthira is giving three reasons, or three possible reasons or causes for Arjuna's dejection. The first one is, have you contacted a woman of impeachable character? Now, when one contacts a person of the opposite sex, of impeachable character, there's only one outcome, and that is one will go down. One will go down. The typical example in Srimad Bhagavatam is the example of Ajamil, how he contacted someone of impeachable character. And then one loses everything. So Maharaj Yudhishthira say, have you contacted a woman of impeachable character? And in the purport, Prabhupada gives a very elevated understanding. And generally, Prabhupada says the benchmark in Vedic culture is according to Vana and Ashram, how one could contact different people. And then Prabhupada says, then he qualifies that. He says generally a Brahmana can marry a Kshatriya, but a Kshatriya should never marry a Brahmana. And Prabhupada uses the term Uttama and Adhama. When one marries someone out of that situation, there's some incompatibility, which will give rise to different problems. But Prabhupada says after that, but don't take that as a cast in stone principle, because in our Vedic culture there were times when this didn't happen, didn't take place, but there was a higher cause. And he cites a few examples. The first example he cites was Bhima. Bhima was a Kshatriya, but he married Hidimbi. Hidimbi was actually from a community almost like demoniac. Prabhupada says lower than Shudras. Then there's also the example of Yayati, who was a Kshatriya, a king, who could not marry Shukracharya's daughter because Brahmana. And then he talks about Vyasadeva. Vyasadev's father, who was Parasara Muni, he married a fisherman's daughter who was Satyavati. And from that union, Vyasadeva was born. And then Vyasadeva, on the request of his mother, Satyavati, once his brother Vichitravirya had passed away, he was also requested to beget children from, the wives of Vichitravirya. So there are exceptions to the rule. It's not that when one contacts a woman, it's always like that, of wrong character. And Prabhupada says the contact between man and woman is natural, but that also must be carried out under regulated principles so that social consecration may not be disturbed. And when it's disturbed, what happens? As we read from the Bhagavad Gita, we get Vana Sankara, unwanted population. But it's not always unwanted population. Sometimes there's a higher cause and a higher purpose. And then Prabhupada gives the talks about the eighth reason. So the first reason given here, contact of woman of impeachable character, then improperly treating a deserving woman. Now this is very, very important. And we see in the Mahabharata, when Draupadi was such a deserving woman, she was ill-treated. There was nothing but destruction that came upon those who perpetuated or turned a blind eye. And the last reason, or the 8th reason out of the 10 given, which is the last one in this verse, is, have you been defeated by someone who is inferior or equal to you? And in the purport, Prabhupada explains, it is okay for a Kshatriya to be defeated by someone who is superior. There is no shame and there is no insult. And Prabhupada cites the example of Bhishma Dev, who was superior to Arjuna in all ways. And he was about to defeat Arjuna, but Krishna intervened because of affection. But there would have been no shame, Prabhupada says, because he was superior. But if one is inferior, even if one is equal, and if one is defeated, then there is great shame. And the example is here is Karna. Karna was considered to be equal to Arjuna in military prowess. And he was about to defeat Arjuna. But Krishna cannot see his devotee shamed. He cannot see his devotee defeated in such a situation. And Krishna intervened. And as Prabhupada said, Karna was killed even by crooked means. And Prabhupada says, such are the engagements of the Kshatriya. And Maharaj Yudhishthira inquired from his brother whether anything undesirable happened. So individually, each of these reasons given thus far, or collectively, they could be so distressing. They could be so distressing. But we know, okay, we'll sort of talk about that a bit later, maybe. So text number 43. Apisvitparya bhuntastvam sambojyam vrida balakan jujupsitam karma kinchit kritavan nayad akshamam. So apisvit, if it were that so, parya, believing aside, bhuntaha, having dined, tvam, yourself, sambogyan, deserving to dine together, vrida, the old men, balakan, boys, jujupsitam, abominable, karma, action, kinchit, something, kritavan, you must have done, now, not yet that which, akshamam, unpardonable. Translation. Have you not taken care of old men and boys who deserve to dine with you? Have you left them and taken your meals alone? Have you committed some unpardonable mistake which is considered to be abominable? What? It's a short purport. Anyone likes to read it?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
Please read, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. It is the duty of the householder to feed first of all the children, the old members of the family, the brahmanas, and the invalids. Besides that, an ideal householder is required to call for any unknown hungry man to come and dine before he himself goes to take his meals. He is required to call for such a hungry man thrice on the road. The neglect of this prescribed duty of a householder, especially in the matter of the old men and children, is unpardonable. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. This is very interesting reasons for the cause of dejection Maharaj Yudhishthira is giving. And this is all such important dharmic principles. So here is mentioning two, and these are the 9th and 10th causes of dejection which Maharaj Yudhishthira is proposing. Have you taken your meals alone without feeding elders and children? And have you committed some abominable and unpardonable mistake? So in Vedic culture, for householders, each of the varnas and ashramas have got specific duties. But for householders, there is a specific duty. Once a disciple of Srila Prabhupada had just got married, and I think Prabhupada was present for the marriage. So after the ceremony, this devotee went to Srila Prabhupada, and he said, Srila Prabhupada, I have now entered the Grihastha ashram. Can you please enlighten me or instruct me what should be my main duty as a householder? And Prabhupada said, before you take your meal, you should go out on the street and you should loudly call out, is there anyone who is hungry? Is there anyone who has not had their meal? Please come. Please come and take your meal before we do so. Prabhupada said, that is the principle. Now, we may say, or we may challenge that this may not be such a practical instruction in how we live. It may not be practical. And Prabhupada, or this verse says, especially if there's an old man and there's a child, you should never. Therefore, Prabhupada started the Food for Life program. He said, no one within a 5-mile radius of any ISKCON temple should go hungry. And Prabhupada said, every ISKCON temple should cook morning and lunch. And if everyone is hungry, they should know that they can have a meal with us. So this is such an important principle, because the tendency of householders is to cultivate the consciousness of enjoyment, bhog, yag, that we have the tendency to want to enjoy palatable foodstuffs for ourselves, and that it perpetuates within our consciousness this enjoying tendency. We know the whole reason we are in this material world is because of our enjoying tendency, and the whole purpose of spiritual life is to curb that enjoying tendency. And the enjoying tendency, as Srila Rupa Goswami explains in the Nectar of Instruction, it starts with the tongue. And Prabhupada says the tongue, the belly, and the genitals, they're all in one line. And it all starts with the tongue. When the tongue is not restrained, not controlled, then it perpetuates, other reasons for fall down. So Prabhupada said this is, or Vedic culture says, this is what householders need to do. So one may discuss, or we can discuss the practicalities of that. But it's mainly our consciousness. It's mainly our consciousness that we're always on the lookout, always on the lookout. And we will see so many people that are hungry, especially children and the elderly. We should never, ever find ourselves in a situation where we've not at least tried to feed them, but while we are enjoying very palatable stuffs. And the last one is interesting, this word jugupsitam. Who can remember where this word jugupsitam has been used previously? I will show you. This was used in the 5th chapter, text number 15. And if we recall, this particular chapter is Narad Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva. And he uses This word actually, jugupsitam, is a very heavy word. It's like detestable, condemned. And Narad Muni was using this word against Vyasadeva because he said, you have compiled literatures, you've done something very detestable because people are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in the name of religion. He used that very, very strong words. You could sit them. And here we see, Maharaj Yudhishthira saying, have you committed some unpardonable mistake, which is considered to be abominable? So that's another reason. And then he declares, he's sort of building up here. He's building up to what is the real cause. And individually, these 10 causes of dejection, they are quite serious and severe, but they are nothing in comparison to the real reason. And that's revealed in the final text of this verse. Kaschit preshta tam menata ridha yenatma bandhuna sunyasmi raito nityam manyase te anyata naruk. Kachit, whether preshta tamena, onto the most dear one. Atha, my dear brother Arjuna. Hridayena, most intimate. Atma bandhuna, own friend of Lord Krishna. Shunya, void. Asmi, I am. Rahita, having lost. Nityam, for all time. Manya, say you think. Te, your. Anyata, otherwise. Na, never. Ruk, mental distress. Translation. Or is it that you are feeling empty for all time because you might have lost your most intimate friend, Lord Krishna? Oh, my brother Arjuna, I can think of no other reason for your becoming so dejected. Anyone likes to read the purport? Okay, I'll read it then.
I'll read it again, Prabhuji, if nobody else reads.
Okay, go on.
Or if you want to read it, Prabhuji,
No, you read. You read.
All the inquisitiveness of Maharaja Yudhishthira about the world situation was already conjectured by Maharaja Yudhishthira on the basis of Lord Krishna's disappearance from the vision of the world. And this was now disclosed by him because of the acute dejection of Arjuna, which could not have been possible otherwise. So even though he was doubtful about it, he was obliged to inquire frankly from Arjuna on the basis of Sri Narada's indication. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So the real reason is revealed here, that Arjuna is feeling like this because Lord Krishna had departed from the world. And he's feeling great separation. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Ramananda Rai, what is the most distressing situation in the world? And Ramananda Rai replied, apart from separation from the devotee of Krishna, I know of no unbearable unhappiness. So yet he said, Ramananda Rai said, the devotee and not the Lord. So one can only imagine, the devotee. We feel so much of connection, so much of distress to a devotee. Why? Because that devotee is so attached to Krishna. So, what will happen if Lord Krishna disappears? So this is the whole message of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We will notice in the Srimad Bhagavatam that whenever there is a situation of separation from Lord Krishna. Shukdev Goswami, he pauses and he spends time describing that situation. We saw in the earlier chapters when Lord Krishna was leaving Hastinapur for Dwaraka. So many times this was going to happen. And Shukdev Goswami pauses and he dwells on that. Yeah, the departure, the feelings of separation, he's dwelling on that. When the 9th canto, he's describing the Ramayana. Very quickly, he describes, about Lord Ram. He was the son of Dasharath. He got cursed and so on. And very quickly, he's like summarizing the old Ramayana. But when he comes to that part of describing Bharat's separation from the Lord, he pauses. And he pauses and he spends some time describing that. So this is something we should watch out for in Srimad Bhagavatam, in Sri Shukdev Goswami's description. Whenever there is separation, he brings it out. The first time he introduces Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam, we see Prahlad Maharaj shedding tears of separation. So this is the theme of the Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy is the philosophy of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we should pay attention and we should, savor, because these feelings that are displayed in the Bhagavatam is the highest. The highest. Even in the gopis, in the 10th canto, they criticize Krishna for disappearing. And then Krishna says, I only do this simply to increase your separation, because when your separation increases, it intensifies your love. That's the only reason that I sometimes disappear from your vision. We see earlier in this cantos how he appears in front of Narad Muni, and then he disappears. And when he disappears, there's so much of feelings of separation. He appears in front of Dhruva Maharaj, and Dhruva suddenly disappears. And then Dhruva feels so much of separation. And here, as we described, it is not normal within Vaishnava culture to describe the disappearance of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada says, we are not so much. But in this instance, it's being done for a particular purpose. It's being done for a particular purpose, to draw out, for us to see what is that love in Krishna and his devotees, and the intense separation that is felt when there is some distance, physical distance. Okay, you got 5 minutes over. I'll stop here, and that concludes the 14th chapter of the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Disappearance of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna. Are there any questions, comments, reflections, corrections that anyone has?
Hare Krishna, Vrindavan, Chandra, Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances, Srila Prabhupada. Thank you for such a wonderful, elaborated explanation. My little question is, because I'm so ignorant, and when Yudhishthira Maharaj was asking all the different the reason for Arjuna to be so despondent and so sad, and some of the things he mentioned about not taking care of the woman or children, like the way he has explained. But he knows Arjun very well. He knows how wonderful brother he is. He knows he's so close to Krishna and he's got the highest quality within him. So I just wonder, reason for him to think that other way.
Actually, he knew, as Prabhupada says here, he had already, it was already conjectured by Maharaj Yudhisthira what was the reason. Actually, it is for the benefit of us. It's for our benefit, because we have to have some frame of reference, to figure out, what is going on here. Can I get some idea of what Arjuna is feeling? So he gives these various causes for dejection simply for actually our benefit. He knew already, but for our benefit, so we can actually relate a little bit to Arjuna, because these 10 reasons, it's something within our experience, something we are familiar with.
Also, what I understand now, that Srila Prabhupada also help us to understand all the way the setup, the whole system, the whole Vedic system was separate, different than what it is now. Like the way the marriage system, how different castes used to get. We don't know this now. Marriage is not like this. So that's also we have the opportunity from Srila Prabhupada, that what kind of a system was there. Otherwise, it would be difficult for us to understand. I think that's also.
Yeah, it's very interesting actually when I was reading, and you make a very nice point there, Palika Mataji. If we scrutinize Srila Prabhupada's purport, Srila Prabhupada is so merciful.
Wonderful, so
He's
wonderful.
so merciful, because they are all of these so-called dharmic principles that is there to be followed, right? And in Kali Yuga, it is so difficult. It's like not possible to follow this dharmic. So Prabhupada is almost saying, but don't be too fixated on that, because there are other examples where that was not followed. So in your situation, in our Krishna consciousness movement, we do not become overly fixated on these dharmic principles. And it's like almost Srila Prabhupada is saying, yeah, it's there, it's important, and it could cause you, but also realize you don't have to be fixated on this. Because one who is chanting Hare Krishna, all of the varnas and ashrams, they don't really apply.
Thank you. I was today, we do Bhagavad Gita discussion with another friend, kind of daily, weekly. And I was in chapter 1 Bhagavad Gita, where Arjuna, he was kind of, Krishna was giving different reason, and Srila Prabhupada then in the purport, he gives so much knowledge to us, which we are not at all, knowledgeable. He gives such a, all these, like different kinds of people who are the aggressor, different kinds of people who are aggressor and who should be, so if they could be killed, But that way, Srila Prabhupada, in each purport, he's bringing us so much knowledge for us to understand the Bhagavad Gita so deeply, Then he connects all that to Arjuna's feeling when Arjuna is really, thinking, because he wants, Srila Prabhupada said, we need to, Govinda is, he's the, how do you call that? We need to please Krishna's senses, not our senses, but the way Arjuna was acting, as if he was trying to, satisfy his senses. Why am I going to kill? And why am I doing? But Prabhupada so nicely, giving us such a wonderful explanation for us to understand how we should act in such a way. If we are put in a similar situation or anything like that, how we should, what would think of Krishna would think. How should I have acted on that situation to please Krishna, not to please me? all that thing, the way we were really appreciating the way Srila Prabhupada explained everything. So little thing like in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, how much time Srila Prabhupada has taken for us to understand Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam deeply within our hearts, so that we get really absorbed in thought of Krishna, how Krishna is really protecting us, how Krishna is giving us everything, So it's really so wonderful if we can try to understand in that way, actually Bhagavad Gita, then our knowledge will increase, and how much love for Krishna we will develop the way Srila Prabhupada gives his purport. We were really enjoying today, when we are discussing just that verse itself. It was so much Krishna has given us today. And it's really, I'm continuing this Bhagavatam, so it's really wonderful. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing your realizations. Yes, we are eternally indebted to Srila Prabhupada for his purports. They are our treasure, our life, Srila Prabhupada's purports. Thank you. Panchali Mataji, you raised your hand for a while. Would you like to ask a question or share a reflection?
It's a question, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pramana. So my question is around the point of separation and how it is the topmost feeling, as you were mentioning just in the teaching. So from a material point of view, it is a very difficult concept to understand, where from a material point of view, when it comes to a happy love story, it's the happily ever after where people get together. So to understand how separation is the highest form in our love or highest form towards Krishna Prem is difficult to understand. But I'm just trying to think, is it because in separation you are constantly thinking of Krishna, and that makes you, and that deepens the love for Krishna? Is that why separation is thought to be the topmost feeling, or am I wrong in thinking so?
Yeah, it's a very deep subject matter, and I myself, I can't profess to really understand it, but part of it we can understand from our own personal contemporary experience, that when we're not with somebody who's very dear to us, we become absorbed in thinking of them. We are like with them constantly in thought. But when we are together, then there's some taking for granted, isn't it? That intensity of feeling is not there. So from a contemporary sense, we can, as you said, have some appreciation of why that is considered so high, because the intensity of feeling is just on another level.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Also, Krishna says, "Na parayam." I
Yes.
can pay your love. He appreciates the separation they're feeling. Krishna says, "I cannot repay your love."
Yeah, that is a very, very famous verse where
Very wonderful.
Krishna says that, that intensity of feeling you had, I can't match that. I just can't. Yeah.
So nice.
Hare Krishna. Any other comments, reflections, questions? No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone, for your attendance and your participation. All glories to your service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srimad Bhagavatam. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasidhubhyo Vaishnava Anantakari Vaishnava Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Premanande Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for
Krishna,
very nice
Prabhuji,
class.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.